Hi guys, it's Lynn here. Hope everyone is having an incredible day. Now, welcome to part 2 of my special cactus series on the leafy group of cacti. And yesterday's video was part 1, all about Pereskiopsis, and I share you all the care tips on how to grow the Pereskiopsis cactus, which is all these ones over here, also the leafy cacti. And these ones are Pereskiopsis. And they're often sort of linked together as Pereskiopsis and Pereskiopsis because they're the leafy cacti here. But they are two completely different genus. Pereskiopsis is obviously Pereskiopsis here with the leaves, and Pereskiopsis is actually a different type of group of cacti and actually linked in with the Propagation family because of it. It has glochids, which I'm going to talk about a little bit in a minute. Now, this is my our sort of, I should say, group of Pereskiopsis cacti here. We have one very tall one over there. We have growing under the grow lights here in our grow room, which is also my office. And I'll show you, we've also got another sort of a bigger group of Pereskiopsis there, all growing in the corner, also under the grow light. And our particular Pereskiopsis is Pereskiopsis spathulata, which is the most commonly seen one in cultivation, especially as a grafting stock. And although we don't use this for grafting, we have these just because we like to grow them. They're commonly used for grafting, which I'm going to also talk about in this video. So there we go, guys. Welcome to part 2 of the Leafy Cacti series. And as I say, Pereskiopsis spathulata is the most commonly known series, which commonly known as species in cultivation, which is this one here. It's the only one of Pereskiopsis that we have. We also do have a Propagation there, which is also similar part to the Pereskiopsis as well, but that's going to do a separate video on that in tomorrow's video. And if you're watching this video in the future, then all the 3 series will be together. The links will also be at the end of each video, so do check them all out. And so yeah, Pereskiopsis is a small group of tropical cacti that are similar in appearance, as I say, to Pereskiopsis, which is where they've got the name of Pereskiopsis too. And they're actually part, or similar to the Opuntioid, the Cylindropuntia group. And the reason why they're connected to the Opuntioidaceae family is because they have glochids, which are, if you want to know what the hell is a glochid, guys, then where the areoles are here in cacti, which is a little type of spongy little deposits that come out along them, and where the spines come out of. They, if you touch these, which I'm not going to touch, you get covered in loads of little glochids. And the Opuntioidaceae family are commonly known as the prickly pear cacti. And those of you who are familiar with prickly pear will know all about glochids. So that's why they're sort of part of that family. They're not strictly the Opuntioidaceae family, but they are similar. And sometimes they are even classed as part of the Opuntioidaceae family because of the glochids. And yeah, they grow in their natural habitats in very tropical, wet and humid regions of Central and South America. So totally different to the more commonly seen desert type of cacti, such as these in the window there. They need sort of totally dry, arid environment. These are a lot more tropical and certainly are not desert cacti in any form. And they, as I say, very common use for grafting stock because they're very fast growers. And these Pereskiopsis, especially young seedlings or rare type of cacti, are often grafted onto the end. Those of you who graft cacti will be very familiar with this, and they provide a very good rootstock. They're also sort of, because they can take more water and a lot of nutrients compared to normal cacti, because of their fast growing, it means any grafted cactus you have growing on these will obviously grow a lot faster, which is why they're very commonly used. I've never grafted plants, so I'm not the best one to give you advice on that. Now, when it comes to the lighting with Pereskiopsis, they like bright light, and they can take anything from full sun to light shade. They can certainly take a bit more shade than desert type of cacti do, but they, like all cacti, they do love to have, they do like sunshine and a very bright spot. We're only overwintering these here, which is why we have the grow light on as additional light for them during the days over the winter. But in the spring and summer, we have these out in our polytunnel and even in the yard as well, because they can take sort of plenty of rain in the spring and summer when they're actively growing, as long as the soil dries out in between waterings, which I'll mention about with the watering. But bright light, sun and to light shade, as long as they get some sunshine, is essential. They do need to have sun there, but they can take more shade than desert cacti can. And the soil, now the most important thing with the soil is that it's very well draining. And I like to make my own cactus and succulent soil for my Pereskiopsis that I use with the majority of my cacti, except for the jungle type of cacti or the epiphytic cacti. And I use 3 equal parts of a loam-based soil mixed with horticultural sand and grit. And if you want to know how I make my own cactus and succulent soil that I actually use for the Pereskiopsis, links up above to that video and also at the end of this video, because it's better to make your own as you know what's going into it. But if not, you use any type of good quality cactus and succulent soil as long as it's well draining. But bear in mind that Pereskiopsis are hungry plants. They're a lot more hungrier than the average cactus. So, you know, whatever cactus mix you use, then I'm going to talk about fertilising in a minute. Make sure that you give them plenty of fertilizer over the spring and summer, because these plants really do love it. And so there we go, it's the soil. Now with the watering, now in the spring and summer I water Pereskiopsis very freely. I prefer to give them rainwater when it's available, but they can take tap water as long as it's not very high in chemicals. Best to let the tap water sit for 24 hours if that's all you can give them. And always allow the soil in the pots to dry out completely before watering them again, because they are rot prone, as all cacti are. But I usually quite freely with the watering from the spring and summer, as long as the soil in the pots has totally dried out before watering again. Now in the winter I keep these more or less dry, but I will, unlike my other cacti like the desert types over here that I don't water at all, from sort of mid-September up until sort of late March. These I do still water very, very lightly once a month during the winter, and obviously that's all I give them once a month. But these are indoors in our house, so if you have them in cooler temperatures, keep them totally dry. You usually find in a drier soil climate during the winter, they will tend to lose all of their leaves. These have sort of lost their leaves as well here. But as soon as you start to resume watering again in the spring, they'll regrow all their leaves again. But because they are tropical cacti, I personally prefer to give them a watering at least once a month, and I find it keeps them sort of keeping the majority of the leaves on. And as long as you don't water, obviously go ahead and water them like normally, they shouldn't rot for you. Once a month I find is enough in the winter time. And then with the feeding, as I say, these are sort of hungry. I personally find in my experience, they're hungry plants. They will tend to, even when you're repotting them frequently, and they do grow quite quickly, then you find that the leaves will start to go yellow on them if you don't give them a lot of fertiliser or repot them regularly. So whereas I'd normally fertilise my cacti succulents about once a month from spring to summer, with these I'd fertilise them twice a month. With a good quality cactus and succulent fertiliser, because they do love that extra bit of feed than the majority of cacti do. Now temperature, again as I said, they're tropical cacti from Central America, Central and South America, so they like a complete warmer winter temperature than a lot of the desert cacti can. The desert cacti can take much lower temperatures in winter if they're kept cool and dry, but these are tropical, and I would recommend keeping these anyway above 12 Celsius, which is about 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Some growers will keep them lower than that if they keep them totally dry over the winter, but personally I wouldn't recommend it. I think above 12 C or 55 degrees Fahrenheit, either at that or above, is best for overwintering these cacti. and they certainly cannot take any frost. Now the flowering, it is extremely rare to see Pereskiopsis flowering, not only in their natural habitats but also in cultivation. So if you ever get flowers on yours, or if you ever get flowers on mine in the future, I'm going to be extremely happy, because even with optimum conditions, it is very rare to get flowers. But they do happen. People have had flowers, and they're often sort of small and a punchier, prickly pear-like in appearance, and can be yellow, pink and red. But as I say, if you get flowers, it's certainly a rare occurrence. And because of that, when it comes to propagation, the most obvious, most commonly and most recommended way to propagate Pereskiopsis is purely by cuttings, and it's extremely easy. Now if you're lucky enough to get flowers and seed, then go ahead and try by seed, but apparently even when you get seed, they say most of the seed is sterile. It is very almost impossible to grow them from seed. So cuttings is the only method I'd recommend. It's the only method I've ever done, and obviously cuttings is best taken spring and summer, and they root extremely easy in the water method. You can use the water method, or you can use just taking cuttings, allow the cut part to dry for about 3 or 4 days, and then insert them into a cactus mix and treat as cuttings. That goes well as well, but they root so easy in the water method that I would just take cuttings, which you have to do very often because these grow like lightning in our polytunnel in the spring and summer. We cut them back, and unlike normal cacti where you have to allow the cut parts to fully callus over before putting in soil, these if you're rooting them in water, that you can just cut them, trim the back, and you put them straight into the water straight away, and they root very fast, certainly within a few weeks, sometimes even as little as a few days. And if you are taking cuttings and rooting them in the soil method, I would recommend allowing the cut part to still callus over for a few days. But if you're rooting them in water, you can leave them to callus over before putting them in water, but I've had great success just by cutting them, trimming them back, inserting them straight in water, and they've rooted. And if you want to see how I propagate these with the water method, what I've explained there, links up above to a video I've made on how to propagate Pereskiopsis with the water method, and you'll see how I do it there and the results also. And that's pretty much it. I think I've covered about the light, the soil, the watering, the feeding temperature, flowers and propagation. So there you go, guys. Do you grow Pereskiopsis, and do you use them for grafting? And let me know. I've never grafted. It's something I'm not particularly into. I'm fine if you like that type of thing, but I just grow Pereskiopsis because I think they're just sort of wacky looking plants. I love the leafy cacti, and I hope that if you're not familiar with these plants, or even if you are, that you've learnt a few things here about these amazing leafy cacti. So that's part 2 of my leafy cacti series, and as I say, check out part 1 on Pereskia, which again is similar with all the leaves, a few different types, but the leaves are obviously a lot more leafier on these and larger. And stay tuned for part 3 coming up tomorrow on Cubentia, I think that's how it's pronounced. That's that one there. Also similar to Pereskiopsis, sometimes called part of a Pereskiopsis, but it is its own sort of genus. Care tips on there on this leafy cacti coming up tomorrow in part 3. And if you're watching this video in the future, then these videos will all be up so you can watch them all together. And if you want to know a little bit more on how to grow cacti and succulents in general, please do check out my website, desertplantsofavalon.com, and don't forget to press that subscribe button and press the notification bell, and of course give this video a like. And thank you so much for your support and for watching, guys. And I want to send you loads of love, heaps of happiness, and tons of plant and cactus power from across the Emerald Isle. And until my next video, bye.